Hello and welcome to the video. Before we get started, if you'd like to provide input on future content and get our weekly newsletter, click on our survey. The link will be below. We also have a report on Ethereum 2, along with a bonus report on why you should learn Solidity now. Again, the link will be below. Now on to the video, and thank you. Okay, so tonight we're going to continue on with what we've been doing, and tonight I want to talk about how heavily we're going to be using sets in this. And one of the important things in a lot of these structures is they're going to have sets of things. For example, a block is going to have an array of transactions. This array is essentially a hash map. What I mean by a hash map is you hash you basically are storing the value based on a key, which works very naturally with this. For example, a transaction has an ID. You store the transaction on its ID, and this is like this add transaction method here. And as you know, a block is going to have multiple transactions. The blockchain is, I don't remember what this mod's supposed to mean, but it's going to have a set of blocks, right? So our Genesis block I'm calling block 0. And the transaction would be the transaction. And I don't know if we're going to end up needing these. We might, because as we saw before, these not only are they, first of all, there are two things I understand about classes that I've seen in NodeJS. One, they're not strongly typed. What does that mean? That means that each item does not have to be defined as a type. So you notice we don't define any types here as you would in Java or C++ or Rust or one of those languages. The other thing is there's no concept of the items in a class being exclusive, only available into that class, or only available to related classes. So I think it's the child can see it, but another class couldn't see that a particular item, be it a variable, what have you. So there's no notion of isolation within classes. As we see in this example, we're just printing this stuff out. So, and one other point, when I tried to do it the first time, I was getting weird errors, and that's because I wasn't saving. Make sure you save, because then you're like, why isn't this working? So, you can just you can do print mod, or you can, that I wrote, or you can do something, let's see, bc new dot I think it's blocks 0 dot I don't know if this is going to work, but and let's see if that save all, and let's see what happens. And you can see, well, that's interesting. So we got the mod. Oh, it got the This may need to be changed. Yeah, it got the 1, 2, 3, fourth item. Let's go back to our block definition. Our block definition, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And transactions, let's see, transactions is the fourth item should be the amount. So this transactions, trans ID is 1, and the transaction amount should be, let's see what happens here. So what it's, I'm creating a block. Oh, the ID, and let's see, it trans A, which is defined, what? Trans A is defined here, is not defined correctly, because it's defined like the block, so let's fix that. Because this is a transaction, you just have ID, from, to, and amount. 4 items. So let's go back here. From, to, and amount. Oh wait, ID, from, to, and amount. So this is ID 1. And this is where it got all confused. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, because this is now defined correctly. We're printing out the transaction amount. We're printing out from transaction block 0. The first transaction is 1 because we passed it block A, and then the amount. So, as you can see, we have kind of getting stuff going here. With this lot I'm going to do, because once we have all our structures defined, then the actual method, then we get to the hard part, or the more challenging part, which is writing the methods that are going to, because this blockchain, this block, we're going to have, well, we don't have a node yet. A node, what is a node going to need? A node's going to need a blockchain. The blockchain, it's going to need the pool of accounts. It's going to need the stake, which is going to be an account and an amount. And what the algorithm's going to have to do is go through all the accounts and do a sum. Now, what might be easier is when an account is, when someone stakes or unstakes, you add or subtract that amount from the total stake, because that's ultimately going to that's going to be one of the items that determines who's going to get to make the block, and then you're going to need to generate block, and you're also going to have that the node itself is going to have to be an account associated with to keep track of the earnings of that node. So these are all the things that are coming up here. But the key takeaways here is how we're using these arrays, and the fact that this stuff is none of it's private. All the variables are public. There's no private. There's no protected. It's just all public variables. So you don't need. I could have used the method, but I didn't have to. I can just access it directly. So that is it makes it a little easier because you don't have to worry that you're not going to be able to see something. It can cause more issues because you're not isolating your code. So anyway, hopefully this has been helpful, and thank you for watching, and I will speak to you next time. Take care.